will be introduced by Linda Arnold, class of 1973. And Linda, I know you're already mad at me that you got to follow this. Sorry.
I don't know why you didn't put me first.
This is Linda Arnold. She was my basketball friend from Groveton High School in the 70s. And we're still friends. We don't see each other as much as we'd like. Linda Arnold, class of 1973. Thank you.
That was a very tough act to follow. So, yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Linda Arnold, and I'm a proud 1973 graduate of Groveton High School. This place, this school. Now, I'm not going to try to be as emotional as you, but I'm about to get that way because it used to be old Jim, in particular, holds a lot of amazing memories for me. I spent many an hour crafting, perfecting my jump shot down on that end right there. About where Tim is. I think Tim and I played a lot of horse right there, but I'm pretty sure I got the better end of that deal. I'm happy this afternoon to introduce you to one of my partners in crime from first grade to graduation, Gina Price. Gina and I ran track and also played volleyball and basketball together. Though Gina could run pretty fast, she just wasn't that great at basketball or volleyball. Hey, now she wrote that, I didn't, so don't take it out on me. Gina and I did a lot together, but one night we did something a little out of our comfort zone. I'm not sure whose great idea it was, and I'm not sure if I'm remembering everyone specifically here, but I'm going to blame Steve Delk, as we call him Stevie. Sorry about that. Susan Hudson, maybe? And I don't know where Jimmy was, but I don't know what he was doing that night. But Gina and I were kind of sucked into this, and we decided we were going to paint the water tower. And I was pretty much a chicken because I'm very scared of heights. But I remember Gina saying, "Oh no, we can do this. We can do this." So the four of us, is that correct? It was just the four of us? Mm-hmm. I mean, a memory, kind of gone. We climbed that old water tower. Is it even still there?
No.
Or it's probably been replaced, but
Yes.
it's maybe the same one. And we painted Senior 73 across it. We were so proud of ourselves. And that was just about the extent of the mischief that we ever got into. We thought we were a big deal, but that was about it. But close to graduation, I'll never forget, my dad dropping me off over here in front of my Aunt Kitty's house, which I just drove by and I noticed it was gone, which made me very sad. But I parked there, or before I had a car, my dad would drop me off there. And as we were pulling up, I noticed there was this beautiful, bright, new, red, gorgeous Toyota Corolla. And I was immediately jealous. I'm like, whose car is that? And why are they parked in front of Aunt Kitty's house? So of course, Gina was looking in the rearview mirror and she saw us pull up. She steps out all proud, just grinning from ear to ear. And she got a brand new car for graduation. Well, of course, I hit my dad up really hard about that. So he started looking everywhere. He found me a 72 Chevy Malibu 4-barrel, if I remember correctly. That thing would run. And of course, it was burnt orange. Right, Benny? Burnt orange. And of course, Benny, Lucky, all of us want to be Longhorns. We love that old burnt orange car. But I thought for just 1 second I was as cool as Gina. After graduation, Gina and I both chose to go to Sam Houston. And then before the fall semester ended, Gina called and said, "Hey, we got to transfer to Stephen F. Austin. We got to go to Nacogdoches." And I'm like, well, what was the reason? Well, the big reason's sitting at the end of that table down there, by the name of Gina Price, also a 1973 GHS graduate. So, of course, we packed up and we moved on to Nacogdoches. And Gina and I roomed together and even saw our very first streakers outside our dorm window. I'm going to tell you, we were not in Groveton anymore. We were sitting there going, oh my gosh, is that what you, oh yeah, that's what it is. And so, till this day, I give Gina credit, and I guess we'll give Jimmy a little bit of it, for my move to a college that I absolutely loved. My experiences in education at Stephen F. helped mold and shape me, and shape my career of 38 years as a teacher, coach, and athletic administrator. And after graduation from Stephen F., Gina married her high school and college sweetheart, and they moved to Houston, where Gina worked while Jimmy attended law school. And not long after Jimmy graduated from South Texas College of Law, Gina began her quest for a law degree. They've been married now for 47 years and are law partners in Conroe at the firm of Price and Price for 40 years. Jimmy and Gina have two grown daughters, Jamie and Jordan. Jamie followed in her parents' footsteps and became a lawyer, and she lives in Montgomery. Jordan is a custom home builder and lives in Galveston. Gina and Jimmy have a beautiful granddaughter, Genevieve, or Jenny. She's affectionately renamed Gina Happy. And if you have a couple of hours today, Gina probably could tell you a little bit about Happy and how special it is. Or tell you about Jenny and how important it is for her to call her Happy. Gina practices probate in estate planning law. In addition to a distinguished legal career, she has had a long record of serving the foster children of Montgomery County. She received statewide recognition for a dedicated legal service to the families of Montgomery County, where the Texas Council of Child Welfare Boards named her the Volunteer of the Year for outstanding volunteer service to the children of the state of Texas. That's quite commendable. She was honored by Montgomery, Walker, and San Jacinto Counties, Region 6, as outstanding attorney. Ad litem, and yes, I had to look that up. I was very impressed with that. Very impressive name for the region. Gina was honored by the Department of Family and Protective Services with her Lifetime Legacy Award for the many years of personal and professional dedication to the Texas foster care system. With that, I proudly give you Gina Safford Price.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I think I'm just going to say ditto and sit down. I think they covered everything that's in these little pieces of paper here, but thank you, Linda, so much. Good afternoon. Oh, wow. Wow, it's so good to be here with you in this place that holds so many memories for all of us. What I want to talk to you today about is what Groveton High School was like 50 years ago. But before I start, thank you for this amazing honor. There are so many incredible Groveton graduates, many of whom are in this room, that are so much more deserving of this honor than me. And I am humbled and appreciative. Thank you very much. Well, I'm sharing the stage this afternoon with my husband, who's a trial lawyer, and Taylor, who's a broadcast journalist. So, you know, cutting some slack here. Joanne said I could talk about anything I wanted to, so I hope you will walk down memory lane with me, and I hope some of my memories are your memories too. And by the way, I talk about some of y'all in here, so. Every talk needs a thing. That's what they teach you in law school anyway. And if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Well, that's the kind of thing. You gotta have a thing. So many things came to mind. Those were the days. I remember when my town, but I settled on a thing that is not a book or a song, but a thing I believe to be very appropriate. Once a Groveton Indian, always a Groveton Indian. Certainly genetics, parents, extended family, and our faith play a huge part in influencing our young lives. Your educational experiences and the town they took place in, though, are extremely instrumental in setting the course. Certainly, we've evolved from who we were then, in my case, 50 years ago. But that night, when we walked across that stage and received our diploma from Groveton High School, we were imprinted by our experiences in this town, within the walls of this school. When I graduated that night, I was convinced the sky was the limit. And so it was that my steps across that stage led to the next step, and the next step, and the step after that, until the step that I took to get to this podium. And that's why I'm calling this talk, Once a Groveton Indian, Always a Groveton Indian. I have wonderful memories of growing up in Groveton. Of course, many revolve around my family life, but I have tons of school memories, beginning in first grade. One of my earliest school memories is coloring a mimeograph apron in Mrs. Womack's first grade class. No matter how hard I tried, I could not outcolor Linda Arnold. But the elementary school was where I learned to sit still, to listen, to focus. I learned to write, and I learned to read. Think about that. Our class experienced integration in the 4th grade, maybe not as smoothly as we should have, but we transitioned better than most Southern schools. Watching those students taught us about courage. We learned to overcome prejudice, maybe slowly, but surely, and some faster than others. I remember in elementary school, I would bring my nickel to school so I could share a 10-cent popsicle with whoever else had a nickel that day. And we would stand in line, and Mr. Chapman would cut our popsicle down the middle with his pocket knife. Remember that? Lessons in fair-mindedness. The things I remember about elementary school are picking softball teams and playing ball at recess. We prepared for, tried out, and participated in interscholastic league, where Ms. Reagan would drill us in picture memory and storytelling. Perhaps our first taste of challenges, competition, friendly rivalry. And on football Fridays, we would line up to walk down that sidewalk and come to this auditorium for a pep rally. That was probably the first time we, as young Grovetonians, identified as Groveton Indians. For once a Groveton Indian, you're always a Groveton Indian. We became a bit rambunctious, a little mischievous in middle school. My recollection is that Gary Schubert was our ringleader. He's here somewhere. His mom was our 6th grade teacher. Miss Schubert would often leave the classroom and come back, and her desk would be turned around backwards. She loved her Jergens lotion, and one day somebody put Elmer's glue in it. I wasn't always an innocent party, and once I even ended up in my Uncle Wayne Dial's office. He was the principal at the time. Gotta love small town life. In 7th grade, you could take band, and like Taylor, it changed my life. I learned to play an instrument. Then I became a member of the Groveton Indians Marching Band, and better yet, you could travel with the band. Where else besides a small town can you do that in 7th grade? Band opened lots of doors for me. We marched in the Trinity County Fair Parade and spent the afternoon at the carnival. We bused to the Backstop Show and Rodeo in Houston to march in the parade, spend the afternoon at the carnival, and attend the rodeo. One year we saw Elvis. Where else besides a small town could you cheer during the game and march in the band at halftime? Band was a commitment. It was hard work, but the payback was you had a ride to the out-of-town football games every week. And certainly I didn't want to miss a football game. More life lessons. One of the greatest things about growing up here was the opportunity to be a big fish in a small pond. It didn't matter whether you were an athlete or not, whether you were a scholar or not. If you wanted to make the cut, you just had to try out. Try was the operative word. Show up, do your best. This was one of my greatest life lessons. You will never be disappointed if you do your best at whatever you're doing. We had the most amazing teachers and coaches to inspire, teach, and prepare us for our next step. I hesitate to name names, and I hope you will bear with me while I do. But Maureen Bradley, Thelma Terry, Ramona Barton, Thelma Woods, Frank Minton, Harvey Taylor, George Whittlesey, John Wayne Reynolds, and those were just our high school teachers. What a lineup, what an education that well prepared us for whatever path we would choose. And it wasn't just scholastics that prepared us for life. Athletics was a huge part of my high school life. I ran track on Groveton's first girls track team. I wasn't a track star, but in our little pond, I did okay. I even got to go to the state track meet my senior year as an alternate on the relay team of Horace, Arnold, Horace, and Horace. They won 5th place in state. I treasure the memory of that trip, even today. I traveled with the volleyball team and the basketball team. I was horrible at both sports, but I tried out. I showed up, I did my best, and I got to travel with them as the manager. I learned many life lessons from athletics at GHS. Perseverance, teamwork, how to be a good loser, to show respect, courtesy, even after a loss. A lot happened away from school too. We built bonfires at the fire tower, climbed the water tower. We water skied on White Rock Creek and swam in Rock Pit. On Saturday night, if you had a real day, you went to the movie, downtown Groveton. But on Tuesday night, you could go for a quarter. We drug Pearl, driving through downtown looking for something to do, someone to talk to. We rode horses around town, and parades and on trail rides where you would ride all day and dance the night away. There were rodeos at the Y on Friday nights and dances the first Saturday of each month at the Avery Building. Sometimes Benny McLean and his band would play there, and if there was live music, we would dance. We danced at the Rising Sun, we danced at prom and after homecoming in the auditorium, and for those occasions our parents would stand on tiptoe and look through the windows to see what was going on down below. Girls wore cut-off jeans, hot pants, short skirts, and go-go boots. The boys had long hair and wore thick platform shoes. It wasn't until after we got married that I realized that Jimmy was shorter than me. We all wore bell-bottom pants and of course our Wranglers with belts with big buckles in our boots. We communicated by talking to each other, usually face to face, because our phones were plugged into the wall. You might have had a party line. There were no cell phones, no texts, no emails. Our typewriters were manual, and the bell would ring before you got to the end of the line so you knew to finish your word and throw the carriage. No laptops. We had one channel, Channel 9, black and white TVs. Our music came from the Crockett radio station or maybe Chicago station if you listened late at night. Or if you had an 8-track tape and were lucky enough to have tapes. The music was from the Bee Gees and Jackson 5 to George Jones and Tammy Wynette. The music was the best. I still love it all. Looking back, I realized that my parents struggled to make ends meet, but I wasn't really aware of it then, as it seemed we had as much as anyone else. Perhaps some kids were more popular than others, but it was about personality and leadership, not clothes and money. So there was town and there was school, but football. Football was the glue that made the town and the school one. Football in this town. Everyone and everything, somehow from a month before two-a-days until a month after the final game evolved around football. All my memories of football seasons past. You know, I said earlier that long hair was the style. Well, Jimmy would start growing his hair out about a month before school was out. And by mid-July, it was long enough that Jim Safford said, "You're not coming back on this place until you get a haircut." Well, luckily, John Wayne, about mid-August, when they had to show up for two-a-days, would make them have their hair cut before they could get their equipment. When two-a-days started and football boys weren't using the field for practice, the band was on the field practicing and it was hot. We had on shorts and t-shirts. The football boys were in full pads. I can't even imagine how they could stand it. But we learned precision and about being a part of something bigger than ourselves. School would hardly begin before we started planning for homecoming. We went all out. And I know some of these things they still do today, but some of these things they don't. We celebrated, we elected a queen and king and a band sweetheart and football sweetheart. We painted posters. Each class had a float. Every club had a float. And we would hide these floats in somebody's barn. We would wrap them in chicken wire. We would cut up tissue paper and stuff tissue paper into every one of those little holes and had the most beautiful floats. But no, we didn't want anybody to see our float because we were competing with the other classes. I'm sorry, I lost my place. We got ready for a pep rally, which was around a huge bonfire. Talk about organization, creativity, invention, fabrication, planning, more life lessons in everything. The cheerleaders sewed those great big wide ribbons that the boys pinned on their knees of their pants, and the girls wore them on their shirts. And there were corsages with real flowers, real chrysanthemums. I remember the smell of the flowers, the smell of the bonfire, the smell of that first cool breeze when my mom would proclaim it to be football weather, and the excitement building up to the game, not just homecoming, every game, every week. Groveton was truly Friday Night Lights. Now the things I've been talking about are my memories, but I saw last night that a lot hasn't changed. But when we were here, we decorated the goalpost. We had a victory line that the boys ran through while the band played the fight song. The boys, the cheerleaders, the band, all in their uniforms. The school song that everyone in the stands knew every single word to. Loyalty, working towards a common goal. And the team spirit, you could hear it in the screams of the crowd, the chants of the cheerleaders, but moreover, you could feel it. And you could see it in the bleachers, decorated with posters and streamers, and either side of the stadium, at home or away, decked out in Groveton Indian red. Friday night at the football game, a place to gather, to see your friends, support your team. Did we ever have a team? Those were the days of Jerry Wyatt, Leon Amy, and Clayton Rice Single. And this spirit I'm talking about didn't end after high school. As long as my mom was living, we would often come home, note I still call Groveton a home, to watch the Indians. There was a time when my mom, she was class of 49, was as devoted an Indian fan as you could find. In fact, one night, during the fourth quarter of a football game, my mom had a stroke in the stands. She knew she was sick, but she wasn't telling anybody till that game was over. And when she couldn't get out of the stands, they called 911, and the life flight landed on the 50-yard line and picked her up and took her to the hospital. Once a Groveton Indian, always a Groveton Indian. 11 years after I graduated, during the playoffs and through to the championship, like so many alums, we were there. We traveled to every playoff game, and we were there the night the Groveton Indians won the 1984 state championship. Are any of those 1984 champions here? They were something. Another great memory, 40 years ago. Since those days, life got busy. 2 daughters, their activities, work, college educations. We lost our dads, our moms, had a wedding and a granddaughter. Huge victories, difficult losses, lots of change, and maybe soon retirement. Life has happened, and as it turns out, the limit was so much higher than the sky, and it's been made even sweeter that I shared it all with Jimmy, my high school sweetheart, who shared my childhood as well as my adult life, as my husband, the father of my girls, pops to Genevieve, and my law partner for 40 years. I haven't always been the best alumni, and that's a shame because I owe so much to this town, this school. The memories created, the lessons I learned in this town have so influenced my life, but I'm still here, still taking one step after another, each step leading to the next and the next. And so I pledge that going forward, I'm going to be a better alumni, more active, more loyal to this school that set me on the path my life has taken. Thank you for listening as I share my memories. I hope you will join me going forward in making an intentional effort to be a better alumni, because once you're a Groveton Indian, you're always a Groveton Indian. Thank you.
Thank you for that trip down memory lane. It's yes, I was there. It's, as you know, the most wonderful place to be from. Gina Price, class of 1973. In recognition of your lifetime achievements and dedicated service, you are now a distinguished alumni of Groveton ISD. Congratulations. Give us a minute, we're going to take a new picture.